Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle and me in the series Freemasonry and Satanism, number 69, part 2, a continuation of a crazy book, Bloody Zion, a compilation of many things that I've read in many other books, and photos that I've seen, pictures, the Jerusalem press, that I have volumes and volumes of press releases and comments printed out, videos on YouTube, magazine articles of history, some really thick books, old books written by historians, and of course the Bible. Bloody Zion. So what does it mean, Bloody Zion? It doesn't sound good, doesn't look good. Go buy this book. I'm not trying to read Edward Hendrie's book to you. That's not the purpose of my videos, to make audiobooks. I do a synopsis and then I add my commentary. You know, I review them. And a lot of books are written to give us false facts. And a lot of books are written to expose the false facts. So you got some authors trying to tell the truth, and some authors trying to deceive us. Now, it's common knowledge to a lot of people. It's said in the press, Zionist-owned media, newspapers, radio programs, TV, Jewish-owned. Tex Mars, Henry McCall, Ph., Jewish author in Canada. Illuminati, the cult that hijacked the world. Rabbi Marvin Antelman, to eliminate the opate. That means your belief in God, your belief that Jesus was crucified, your belief that maybe he rose from the dead, which I believe. Easter, Christmas, his birthday, to eliminate the opate. They don't want the people to believe in anything. Meanwhile, they're into the Kabbalah, magic, witchcraft. If you don't believe in witchcraft and magic, you got to do some homework. It goes back thousands of years. And I suppose there could be spiritual work that is good, as in Jesus healing people and casting out demons, and the Catholic Church training exorcists. And I suppose knowing how to use those spiritual technologies, for no lack of a better word, witchcraft, Kabbalah, then if you wanted to kind of overpower somebody or put your will over them or control people, and they wouldn't know any better, they wouldn't be the wiser, you could use witchcraft. So you wanted somebody's company, his wealth, his fortune, hypnotism, drugs, witchcraft, voodoo, even high-tech sciences. And today, 2015, the last 100 years, hiring an assassin. They've been hiring assassins throughout history. Have the person killed. But they like to do it in a more subtle way. Induce a heart attack, maybe with a electronic beam or microwave weapon. Slip something in their food or something. Nobody would be the wiser. And how many people seemingly died under mysterious circumstances, and they wouldn't allow an autopsy? Famous people. Makes you wonder. And I've got a lot of people, doctors, who were trying to expose the threat of vaccines contained. A lot of them died recently. Astronomers. Maybe people who wouldn't go over to the dark side and support an asteroid hitting Earth or an incoming Planet X, Herculumbus, the destroyer. They died. falling out of ski lifts, getting hit by buses. So yeah, they got this incoming body. They say it's the destroyer that's coming. Coincidentally, on the Empire State Building, they put Shiva, the Hindu demonic god, or Kali, the Hindu demonic god, also called the destroyer. All this stuff's in the news. The end times. Then we got Ebola, Mars, SARS, bird flu, government buying bullets, FEMA camps, sustainability, and even the Pope the other day saying global warming is an emergency. We need to act now. And I guess he came across intelligent and sophisticated, because I talk to people and they go, oh yeah, that Pope is so smart. But if you've been watching my videos and doing any homework on your own, and you see the sky spraying and the HARP system, the microwave transmitters, you know they're controlling the weather. But most people are still oblivious to what is going on in the world, while most of the countries are preparing for World War III. And they talk about FEMA camps and Jade Helm dispersing troops across the USA, preparing for martial law or World War III. Or just a revolution, rioting in the streets. With that said, a lot to contemplate and ponder. Treasonous provocateurs. Treasonous provocateurs. One may think that Christian Zionists, got a lot of our Christian leaders now, who seemingly have gone to the dark side, turned away from Jesus. Can't even say the word Jesus in their religious ceremonies anymore. Words like ascension, New Age terms, shakas, do as thou wilt. Everything has got to be politically correct, but directed in the flavor of getting rid of Christianity. So one may think that Christian Zionist could not be a treasonous fifth column because they're helping Israel, who is usually an ally of the United States. Looking behind the curtain of official censorship, however, reveals that Israel is not truly an ally to the United States, and that helping Israel is detrimental to the interest of the United States. You can't say it any better than the Israeli Prime Minister of Israel, Sharon, who said in a heated argument, "Don't worry about America, we control America." And of course you got Benjamin Netanyahu's little conversation that was recorded in Fink's bar. "We hate America. It's a golden calf to be fleeced again and again and again. We'll sell it off by piece and make them regret not wanting to be our slaves." And remember the books we went over recently? The Jewish Utopia, Professor Higgins, who was reviewed by Robert Williams in The Ultimate World Order. And then that other book with the American Jew in Israel, and the other material I went over. It's pretty horrendous, crazy information. Apparently true. While the United States and other countries consider Israel an ally, in most instances Israel only pretends to be an ally of the countries that help it. For example, Rafi Eitan, who is Mossad spy master, who is a Mossad, that's Israel, spy master, an advisor to Fidel Castro, an Israeli cabinet minister, told one of Israel's largest daily newspapers, Yadot Arharnet, in June 1997, I failed in the Pollard affair, just as I failed in other intelligence operations beyond enemy lines. Pollard is a Jewish spy who was caught spying in the U.S. for Israel. Joseph DeGenio, a U.S. attorney who prosecuted the case, said he was surprised that Eitan would admit that Pollard's spying was sanctioned by Israel, since the official government position taken by Israel is that Pollard was a rogue spy operation. DeGenova added, "This is basically all stuff that the evidence in the case shows." Treasonous provocateurs. There's a serious reason that shows serious evidence that 911 was masterminded or controlled by these Israeli Mossad agents and other higher-up elites in the Illuminati and controlling our politicians. Building 7, the third building that just fell like it was free fall, and that demolition expert over there in Europe said that when he was introduced to the video, he said, "Sure, that's demolition, with 100%. Danny. His videos, you can look it up, Danny, 911, and demolition expert. Well, anyways, within days, he was killed in a car wreck. Horrific car wreck. Not just a fender bender or running into something. An intentional taking out of a man. Murder, in my opinion. So I'm only doing my highlighted portions here. When Jonathan Pollard stole our nuclear secrets, which your taxes paid to develop, and sent them to Israel, Israel did not hesitate to trade those secrets to the USSR, Russia, in exchange for increased immigration quotas. Increased immigration quotas. So they wanted more Jewish people to leave Russia to start growing the population in Israel. And as we're all aware in the news these days, amounts of Arabs of all religions and faiths, and maybe they're atheists, but Arabs are fleeing Syria, Palestine, Iraq, Afghanistan, the whole area. All the revolutions, Egypt. Things are getting worse, not better, with these countries that have been overthrown. So a lot of the Arabs are fleeing into the European nations, and even in America, Obama is said to take on 10 to 100,000. And even the Pope, speaking here in America this week, this is September 28th, Monday, said that we need to take in more of these refugees. Why are they refugees? What does it take for people to think? Why are there refugees leaving the Middle East, which is a sizable area, where they have lived for thousands of years? What's with that? Are they having a drought? Did they run out of water? Did they run out of food? Did they run out of employment, jobs? No. They're being bombed out, machine gunned out, starved out, ran out. And nobody wants to look at that elephant in the room. And then where they go, they bring their conflicting religions with Christianity, the Islam religion. And generally speaking, if left alone, Christians and Muslims and even Jewish people, Hindus and Buddha, all get along. But somebody is instigating the incitement. And they say, you know, even telling the truth is could be a crime. They can accuse you of inciting hatred. You can't disagree with homosexuality forced on you and your children in the schools. Transgenderism. Ashley Madison websites where they can guarantee your confidentiality to find somebody to cheat on your spouse with. It's anti-10 Commandments. And going to heaven, believing in Jesus, is the only way to the Father, so said Jesus. They don't want you to believe that. So apparently I've learned a new word. I'm always learning something. Soul snatching. So the Jewish hierarchy, the Zionist or whoever, during the 1910, 1920s, and thereafter, including in Israel today, you get arrested, you try to hand out some New Testament books and talk about Jesus. They'll accuse you of soul snatching. They don't want you to rescue somebody's soul to be saved. They want to destroy our religions, as Rabbi Marvin Entelman said, so that they can snatch our souls. So who's really doing the soul snatching? The Jewish people who are vengeful about their religion. 2,000 years ago, whatever, less, that they told the leader of the Roman government, Pontius Pilate, who said, I don't want to crucify Jesus. I don't want this on my head, the Son of God. And the Jewish people screamed, let it be on our heads and our children's heads. So they killed Jesus. And even then, Pontius Pilate said, hey, I got this criminal up here, Barnabas, and I got Jesus up here. Which one do you want me to set free? They said, set Barnabas free, the criminal. Crucify Jesus. And then that Sarah Silverstein, whatever her name is, the comedian, you can go see, dressed in black on stage. And she goes, yes, we killed Jesus, and if he came back, I'd kill him again. So anyways, believing in Christianity and Jesus makes the Jews very upset. And they believe our believing in Jesus and studying it and having New Testaments is an insult and anti-Semitic, so they say. They throw those accusations. Just like the government doing all the nasty things it's doing that we all know about, but we can't talk about, because if you talk about it, you're an anti-government belligerent. And over in Iraq, when they were bombing the smithereens out of those people, destroying the water supplies, everything, if you try to rise up and get some milk and food for your wife and baby, you were an insurgent. You were killed. Words. So anyways, we got Jonathan Pollard stole our nuclear secrets, an Israeli spy. And then Israel did not hesitate to trade those secrets to Russia in exchange for increased immigration quotas to get more people to move to Israel. And we all know they've been causing havoc and anarchy all over the Middle East and all the countries. Yemen, Tunisia, everywhere, all over Northern Africa, the Middle East, and neighboring countries in Europe. And the Arabs are fleeing for their lives. All planned. Moving on, the Institute for Intelligence and Special Operations. The subterfuge of provocation and revenge is the core of special operation of the Israeli Mossad. Cerf explained, Mossad motto is, by way of deception, thou shalt do war. So when they did 9/11, it was to get the United States citizens to comply and give our leaders an excuse to go into the Middle East. That's all it was. Or it says right here, by way of deception, page 144. The primary tactic of the Mossad is to cause war through deception of false flag attacks that act as a provocation in a retaliatory response. So they create false flag events to have an excuse for a retaliatory response. And they've been doing that there in Palestine forever. They hire these mercenaries and supply them with small bombs and missiles. The average Palestinian doesn't have the resources, technical know-how, money, or anything. They've been occupied for 80 years. More. So it's got to be slipped in through some paid mercenaries. So then they launch a few rockets towards Israel. Gets front page that they almost hit a child or something. And they send the warplanes to start wiping out the Palestinians. It was all staged, in my opinion, and many others, if anybody does any research. As I always say, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure this stuff out. So, and just to say that it's not just me, and I'm reading this book here. Henry Mackay, Ph.D., Jewish author, who wrote the book Illuminati, The Cult That Hijacked the World. Well, plus I think he just released a sequel book. You can look it up on the internet. Look up some of his interviews, conversations with Tex Mars, M-A-R-R-S. Very interesting conversation between a couple intelligent men who know more about what's going on in the world than I do, or you do. Henry Mackay states that the U.S. war on terror is a continuation of Israel's plan of provocation and revenge. Revenge. They hate Christians. They're trying to destroy Christianity. And I'm going to prove that. My next book. They think we're cattle and animals to be done away with, which was in the last books written by Jewish people. About Jewish people. Rabbi Marvin Antelman, the American Jew who went to Israel. Professor Higgins, The Ultimate Utopia, and many others. Moving on, page 145. When the evidence is examined, it points to Israel and Mossad as the perpetrators of the 9/11 attacks. We've gone over many books. Webster Tarpley wrote a great book about 9/11. I've got numerous books on this. And remember that demolition expert, Danny, didn't know about Building 7. He knew about 1 and 2 and probably scratched his head and said, wow, what happened there that would made him free fall? And when somebody showed him Building 7, they said, wasn't hit by a plane? No. Well, then it was demolition. There's no doubt about it. 100% by a demolition expert. And he's dead days later. So then you're reading books after book after book after book. We're up to series 69 now. Hundreds of hours of material I've gone over, made videos. So I should be given a little credit for saying, okay, there's plenty of evidence here that suggests that this is true. And what's their motivation? It says right here, revenge, hatred of Christians, and dreams of a Jewish utopia. When the evidence is examined, it points to Israel and Mossad as the perpetrators of the 9/11 attacks. The scheme was to frame Arabs as patsies in order to get the U.S. to wipe out the Arab resistance and other ancillary impediments to their Zionist goals. Former Italian President Francisco Corsicchia has told Italy's oldest and most widely read newspaper, Corriere della Sera, that the 9/11 terrorist attacks were run by the Mossad, which is Israel's foreign intelligence agency. President Corsicchia stated in the newspaper that the Mossad's perpetration of the 9/11 attacks was common knowledge among global intelligence agencies. And we know a lot of these global intelligence agencies and top of governments all over the world are interconnected via the Masonic lodges and other secret mystery school of Babylon, occultic organizations, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, Jesuits, Zionists, Freemasons, Kabbalah people, Hollywood banksters, Rosicrucians, Bohemian Grove, Bilderberger Groups, Club of Rome, Council of Foreign Relations, Heritage Foundation, Ford Foundation, Carnegie Foundation, and every other philanthropic group out there saying they're doing things for us and helping people, they're lying. Look at their symbols. So it was common knowledge among the global intelligence agencies. President Khashoggi stated that the attacks were designed to blame the Arab countries and induce the Western powers to invade Iraq and Afghanistan. And now the Arabs are, at this point in the game, are fleeing for their lives and have little booklets. Apparently, one video accuses George Soros of financing, making the little booklets. These little handy booklets. It tells you where to go, what highways, where the food centers are, assistance centers, lodging of different cities in Germany and other countries, Switzerland. They're all fleeing the Middle East, which has been their home for thousands of years. Why are they fleeing? There's been no natural disaster. There's a man-made, if these Zionist people are even human, reptilian creature, psychopathic demons, demon worshippers, are running all these people out. You're going to call them what they are. Nobody else would do anything that's so gruesome as what these people are doing. These people into the secret mystery schools and devil worship. In an interview only weeks after 9/11, Hamid Gul, former head of the Pakistani intelligence, ISI, from 1987 to 1989, so more than 12 years, told the UPI reporter Arnard Birchgrove that the Mossad and its accomplices were the perpetrators of 9/11. Gull pointed out that the U.S. spent near $40 billion per year on intelligence prior to 9/11, 2001, and yet claims it was taken by surprise. $40 billion a year, and they can't see it when people are installing demolition explosives in buildings. And apparently, some of Bush's family's members were involved in security of those buildings, as well as Israeli companies and responsible for security at the local airports. And lots of room for a little secret goings-on. So they knew what they were doing. They've been playing us citizens of the world for fools for a long time. And they want everybody to abandon Jesus and God and go to the dark side with all this New Age cult stuff and embrace the alternate morality. One of a decadent reality of the evilest man alive, who a lot of people I talk to thinks he's great. Aleister Crowley, who has bragged about killing children and pedophilia and sacrificing them, drinking blood, all those gruesome things to communicate with the demonic beings on the other side. Sometimes I wonder, are the general population out there, are they intelligent at all? Or are they not just animal zombies? If they don't wake up to this stuff. And yet claims it was taken by surprise after spending $40 billion a year. Within 10 minutes after the attacks, however, the government and the media had decided that Osama bin Laden was the perpetrator. 10 minutes later. Maybe they had a psychic. They're into psychic research and big time. They knew this was coming. Gull stated that pinning the 9/11 attacks on Osama bin Laden was a planned piece of disinformation. Gull further stated it created an instant mindset and put public opinion into a trance, mind control, which prevented even intelligent people from thinking for themselves. So while this tragic event happened, second by second, remember, these people are seriously into mind control. Trauma mind control, mind you. They've experimented with many humans in laboratories and dungeons and all kinds of places. Peeling off their skin, or worse, burning them alive. Pouring molten metals down their throat. It's crazy. So at the seconds of 9/11 was happening, we were all being programmed. We were in disbelief, and they were telling us the story about Osama bin Laden 10 minutes later. And because of the trauma that we were feeling, we were buying the story hook, line, and sinker. It was inconceivable to us that they would be having a staged event. But in fact, after the fact, it's exactly what was happening. Sandy Hook and many other incidences. Those people that were the culprits, the shooters. Batman shooting, Sandy Hook, Boston bombing. The guy who went into the church and shot the black people. They look like they're zombies. They look like they were some kind of dazed state. Drug-induced mind control. And if you do any research at all on MK Ultra, Project Montauk, and other goings-on in the Black Ops laboratories, this is a big thing. They got the HARP microwave transmitters and cell phone towers and cell phones and computers that can see you. This iPad that I'm sitting in front of can possibly, the powers that be can see me, listen to me. Your cell phone, no doubt about it. Your TV, no doubt about it. Look it up. Laptop, computer, no doubt about it. Cameras on every corner, everywhere, no doubt about it. Monitoring your credit card usages and other activities, no doubt about it. And then if you're flagged, you probably get into a more intense monitoring situation. It created a instant mindset and put public opinion into a trance, which prevented even intelligent people from thinking for themselves. It was so far beyond reality that we bought what they said at hook, line, and sinker, no matter how bizarre it was. All right, Andries von Bülow, the former head of the parliamentary commission that oversaw the German intelligence agencies, told Christopher Bolin that he believed that the Mossad was behind the terror attacks of 9/11. Von Bülow explained that a sophisticated false flag operation like 9/11 had an organizational structure with three basic levels: architectural level, operational level, and working level. He said that the Alta and the 19 Arabs blamed as the hijackers of 9/11 were part of the working level. Von Bülow explained that the alleged hijackers were simply part of the deception. That is, after all, how false flag terror works. The 9/11 attacks were designed to turn public opinion against the Arabs and to boost military and security spending. And I will add that there's a lot of propaganda out there now to turn the general public against Christians and Christianity in schools. And if you know the reason, we've discussed it. It exposes the evil goings-on by the words of God himself, or Jesus in the Bible, of the Jewish people who had him killed. The history. They want that history erased. It infuriates them with hatred that we have the New Testament and we can learn and read that stuff. And we'll go over it, God willing. Von Bülow further explained, you don't get the higher echelons, which is the architectural level, the masterminds such as false flag attacks. So you never get the people who designed the program. He opinioned that 95% of the work of the intelligence agencies around the world is deception and disinformation. He stated that the deception is widely propagated in the mainstream media which creates an accepted version of events. And a lot of us know this. What we need to stand up and say is that not only did they, Israel, attack the USS Liberty, they did 9/11, they did it. So the story is, if you don't know, and watch some of my past videos, is Israel attacked Egypt. I think it was the 6-day war. And the USS Liberty was offshore monitoring the event. Well, Israel didn't want that information relayed to the American people. Plus, they wanted to blame the sinking of the USS Liberty on the Egyptians, again, to curry favor opinion from the Americans against, again, the Egyptians, the Arabs. So it's a relentless thing if you go look it up. It's horrific. The Israeli jets, planes, probably ones that the United States sold them and gave them money to buy, bombed this USS Liberty ship to smithereens, dropping bombs and everything, while our troops, Americans, were waving flags, American flags, white flags, whatever they could, waving at the Israeli jets, who are our allies, saying, wait a minute, what are you doing? And they kept bombing and bombing and bombing. Fires were raging, death and everything. The Israelis intended to sink it and falsify the story. That's called a false flag. Blame it on somebody else. Well, the ship survived, didn't sink. A lot of people died. A lot of people were hurt. The President of the United States and all the higher-up officials did not make it public knowledge to the whole affair. They covered it up generally. It was a mistake identification. All planned. The people at the higher levels have a bigger game and are in cahoots with each other, have turned to the dark side, along with these Zionist Christians who are running our churches, with touting the propaganda that the Jews over there are the chosen ones of God. When in the Bible, in Revelation 9, it says, Jews who call themselves Jews but are not. And we all know that the Khazars, a long time ago, their king, up there by Russia, Khazaria, whatever it's called, embraced the Jewish religion. He had three choices: the Islam religion, the Christian religion, or the Jewish religion. So he chose the Jewish religion. Now he's got this whole country of people who are Nordic, Russia and Ukraine, Khazaria. Ukraine didn't exist back then. Who were very vicious people. The Khazarians would supply military troops, rent them out to countries who went to war. So they were seriously tough barbarians, warriors, murderers, killers, raiders. These people now have the title that they're Jews. And I think they're called Ashkenazi. In that book we went over, The American Jew in Israel, they walk around like they are arrogant, and the real Jews, the Shepherdetic, they treat like second-rate or even worse citizens. And apparently it's illegal to have a Christian New Testament Bible or be talking about Jesus. And from other stuff I've read, you could probably find a bomb in your mailbox if Jesus is your Savior. So they hate Jesus. And they're promoting all this other evil stuff. They were involved in liquor sales and taking over stills and all kinds of mafia-type activities during the 20s and 10s and 30s. Getting into crime and baseball and so many things, taking over companies and buying off politicians. Most of Woodrow Wilson's advisors were all these Jewish, Zionist, Yiddish people. There's an insidious monstrosity of a secret society controlling everybody and everything. Monstrous. Demonic. Possessed. Incommunicado with the Lucifer, fallen angel cast from heaven. It's all biblical. You can't hide it. I don't consider myself as a religious scholar. I'm more of a scientist. And when one examines this whole situation, as science, one finds out that there's something to all this occult witchcraft stuff. They got CERN now, and if you don't have to believe me, but go on the computer. They got Shiva, the demonic being, out there with the many arms in front of CERN. What's with that? Their logo is 666. What's with that? Shiva and Kali on the Empire State Building. What's with that? The Grammys, football time halftime shows, Olympic openings, and all kinds of other Emmys and stuff. They're all demonic, satanic, Kali, Shiva type rituals. What's with that? And in all their paperwork and everything else, they don't want Jesus or Christ mentioned, or Christmas or Easter, because it offends the Jewish people. Hey, they killed Jesus. We can't have you having a Christmas party or Easter thing. He's a false Messiah. You're worshiping an idol, is what they're going to say. And the punishment for idol worship is to behead people. That's what they did in the past. The Crusades, the Inquisition. Crazy. I've had long conversations over the past 2 weeks with contacts at the Army West College, at the headquarters Marine Corps, and I have made it absolutely clear in both cases that it is 100% certain that 911 was a Mossad operation, period. That was Dr. Alan Sabrasky stated unequivocally. I have made it absolutely clear in both cases that it is 100% certain that 911 was a Mossad operation, period. And the citation is number 250. So why don't I tell you where that came from? .250. Transcript of interview with Mark Glenn, with Dr. Alan Sabratsky and Phil Torney, March 15th, 2010. And there is a website here. I'll hold the book up. You want to try to see it and write it down. Hit pause. So everything is sourced here. Moving on. And again, I'm reading only highlighted portions. There's a lot I'm not reading, and I'll show you something else I do that's for your edification. When I do a book review, like the last one, Freemasonry and Satanism 69, Part 1, how do I know what I did? Well, I did it on the Zionist Nazis, and at the top of the page you'll notice that chapter. I wrote Freemasonry and Satanism 69-Part 1. So I know on Chapter 20, Zionist Nazis, that in this video that I made, the last one, Part 1 of this Series 69, was on this chapter. Cool? So when I finish this video, it'll be on this chapter, and I'll make those little notations on the top of the books. I'm getting a little smarter on how I do this. I wish I'd have done this on the videos when I started, but it is a learn-as-you-go process. And people are telling me, thank you very much, that I'm getting better at my commentary, speaking. I appreciate whatever thumbs up I can get and comments to help me supporting information. This is not an easy subject for anybody to be studying and saying, for numerous reasons. One, the fear factor. I mean, these evil Lucifer Zionist entities, if they're human, if they're probably half human and half reptilian or something, some kind of psychopathic, cold-blooded monsters they are with their thinking. But they've been known to take people out, discredit people, ruin people. But I trust in Jesus. I believe in the higher power, God, Holy Spirit. And I'm learning as I go. I'm not trying to talk my religion onto anybody. But I don't think exposing the culprits for 9/11 is a preaching or anything. It's something we all need to discuss and be aware of and wake up to if we want to save our country, our world. The Europeans are just as much victims, and South Americans, Central Americans, Africans, Asians, worldwide. When they did the Russian Revolution in 1917 with the Bolshevik Jews, they proceeded to kill 100 million people over 10 years, largely through starvation. They had to get rid of all the middle class. It's called a purge. If they pull that off in the USA, you don't think they're planning to do the same thing? They've got something called red, yellow, green dots or paint marks on properties, on curbs, on mailbox, whatever, maybe in computer systems. So different people who will be targeted the day of the martial law event or purge or revolution, whatever they do. Whatever catastrophe they cause, blame it on natural causes or God or aliens, whatever they're going to do. They know who they need to zoom in and get and take out. Maybe they'll make a lot of people disappear overnight and call it the rapture. And they've abducted them in little vans. Just saying. I'm not paranoid, I'm just saying these people have been planning all these nasties for a long time. The 1983 Marine Barracks bombing was not the first time that Israel had used agent provocateurs. I call them mercenaries, hired thugs. In 1954, the U.S. was beginning to favor Egypt over Israel regarding some regional issues. The Israeli government decided to use 11 Israeli agents in Egypt to blow up some American buildings and blame it on the Egyptian nationalists. The hope of the Israelis was to rupture the relationship between Egypt and the United States. The plot, however, was discovered and exposed. It was referred to as the Levin Affair after the defense minister of Israel, Pinhas Levin, who was allegedly the mastermind behind the plot. Levin denied he was involved in the plot and blamed the Israeli military intelligence, the Mossad. It was never completely resolved, of course not, of which of them was responsible. What is clear is that it was an official operation of the Israeli government. And even 7 days before President Kennedy was killed, you can go look this up on YouTube and watch him say it. He did a speech. He said, there is a secret government behind the scenes, and I will expose them. I just made it paraphrased and short and brief. But he went into details that Americans are not used to having conspiracies and secret governments and goings-on kept from the people and stuff. 7 days later, they shot him. Delaney Plaza, Masonic Plaza, the cult. You go looking into that. A lot of people, well-known last names that were presidents and other high officials were involved. When will the people wake up? I keep saying. The Israeli learned their lesson from the Levin Affair. They now used unwitting Muslim Arabs to do their dirty work. So instead of using their own people, they use unwitting Muslim Arabs to do their dirty work. And I'm sure over there in the Middle East, there's a lot of people that are just mafia-type thugs that are Arabs. And for $25,000, they'll do anything you want. Cut throats, kill people, gut people, kill children, abduct people. In any culture, any country, anywhere, there are bad people, evil people, with no conscience. The Arabs are intelligent cutouts that can be disavowed by the Israeli controllers. The Arab cutouts would be kept ignorant that they were actually acting as an agent provocateur for Israel. If anything went wrong with the operation, the Arab patsies would not have any meaningful information of the true mastermind of the operation. Another clear example of the truth of Israeli Spymaster Raphael Eaton's statements that Israel is the enemy of the United States is the infamous attack on the USS Liberty that I discussed earlier. On June 8th, 1967, during the Israeli Six-Day War, Israel used unmarked military jets to attack and attempt to sink the USS Liberty. That attack also demonstrates the power of the Jews in the United States government, because they made our leaders shut up. So I thought what I would do here, if I can find my pictures, how about a little picture show? You too can go on YouTube, not YouTube, Yahoo, or Google, or anything, and type in Zionism and images. Protocols of Zion and images. And you will see all kinds of pictures. I do that. And I take a little disc down to the pharmacy and print out the pictures and have them cataloged in little shoe boxes with labels. So the protocols of Zion we talked about. That's that book, the manual for taking over the world and what they think of us goyim cattle. And if you didn't know it, the symbol for the Jews in Israel is the snake. That's their symbol. I remember it was the snake in the Garden of Eden that convinced Adam and Eve to disobey God's words and eat the apple tree of knowledge. Maybe a metaphor for something, but the instigator was the snake. And as I keep saying, the Jews do not agree. The Shepherdetics don't agree with the Eco-Nazis. And many good Jews are fighting the Zionist movement of world domination. Las Protocols de la Zion. It involves money, the Jesuit Church, Catholics, the Nazis, the Communists, and the Masons, and the Star of David, which is the Zionist Israel symbol. See all the symbols there? All the top leadership of a lot of the entities all over the world, secret conspiracy groups, whether they are Masonic or religious, political, fraternal, they're working together to preserve their position of power and money in the world. They've sold out the human race and think there's too many people. That's what the depopulation thing is all about. Make no mistake about it. They think there's too many people for them to control. And they don't want to have to provide the gas and resources and wine and everything else we use. For that reason only, selfishness, is why they want to kill off 85% of the population. And if one remembers, or if you don't know, the big problem that the Jews had, the Pharisees, the Jewish leaders, back when Jesus was preaching, was that Jesus was preaching, treat your fellow man as you would want to be treated. Love one another, don't kill one another, and all this stuff. He was preaching love. Compassion, apathy. Not apathy, but well, apathy towards people. Concern, pity for the lesser among us. Homelessness. In the hierarchy, the people who, King Solomon's temple and the Jewish hierarchy, that wasn't in their religion and their way of thinking. They used and abused and charged interest to people and cheated people, lied and deceived. It was part of their religion. And they think that makes them smarter. And if you're a person of morals and decency, they think you're a fool and weaker. This is their logic. But if you read Jesus' word in the Bible, he says all this. And they don't want you to know that. That's why they think it's anti-Semitic. And every effort is going to be made to remove the Christian Bible, Jesus' name, probably saying it will be a crime. Punishable by death, possibly. This is serious business I'm talking about. The snake wants to take over the world. The international Jew. They're everywhere. And not all Jewish people are in on. A lot of Jewish people who are now Christians or believe in Jesus or just don't want to support this demonic program have been fighting this. Here's a picture. Instead of a notch on your gun for how many people you shot in the old Western movie, you put a little stamp on the wall of countries you've destroyed. And then I'm learning even more things. So the Statue of Liberties is apparently this destroyer being called Apollyon or Hermes. And I think if you go on the internet and look up Hermes in images or Apollyon images, you're going to see this dude, God-like thing, with the spikes on his head and holding the lamp up like that. You're going to say, wait a minute, that looks like the Statue of Liberty, and those pictures are much older than the Statue of Liberty, and the Statue of Liberty was donated to the United States as a gift from the Masonic lodges of France, who are into the occult and Hermes and Apollyon and Lucifer and Satanism. Deceiving the world. Protocols of Zion, people say, oh, those are fake. They've been around 100 years or longer, the books. And they do not like Jesus. How would you like it if you were thinking that you were responsible for killing God's Son and you were going to be punished? And there was no forgiveness. But I believe there is forgiveness. And through God, everything is possible. And I keep talking about how Israel has plans to be a bigger country than that little dot on the map. And with the havoc and destruction, evil they're causing with the little dot, it's bad. And they're doing this thing called Aliyah, bringing everybody back from all over the world. And it says in the Bible, from the Euphrates to the Nile. So they even have maps on Zionism images you can see, I guess, about their proposed size of the new country, the Greater Israel. That's just where they're going to operate from. They're actually going to own the whole world and have their agents already probably in place. So it's said in that material I read. The end of Zionism is peace. And all these people that were behind Obama and even Bush, but around Emmanuel, Geithner, Banachek, Ozeg, Axelrod, Summers, all probably dual citizenship Jewish people. They do not have our interest at heart, obviously, and they don't have our Christian philosophy, which they hate. But I'll tell you what they do love. And this picture says it all. A lot of money in war. And they want to shut everybody up. Ridicule you publicly, politician, business owner. They tried to destroy Henry Ford. He had to retract some of his activities to save his Ford Motor Company. And of course, we all know that Israel started out with the League of Nations. Israel started out with just allocated a small portion of land. Where my finger is Palestine was in white, where my finger is, in 1946. And then in the middle, when they had a war between now and then, they got more land, as you can see in the middle part. And now they got almost everything on the far left. And again, if you go look up land claims, the borders of Israel are determined where. So you can see they're certainly growing in the last 50 years. And now they're going from 9/11. They've been bombing all the other countries. They really want to grow. Can you imagine if the United States attacked Canada and Mexico because we wanted to grow? But, alas, these organizations have control over the White House. I like these pictures I find people make. The Anti-Defamation League, AIPAC, PLC, B'nai B'rith, JDL, Judy Defense League. They have a grip on our government. Winston Churchill, champion of liberty, scourge of fascism, Zionist. It is manifestly right that the scattered Jews should have a national center and a national home, and where else but in Palestine, for which for 3,000 years they have been intimately and profoundly associated with. So they were causing all kinds of problems 3,000 years ago, and they were spread all over the world. The dispersion, spora. And now with Elia, they're all coming back. I don't think that bodes well for the rest of us when they say they want to rule the world from Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv, according to the travel agencies, is the #1 spot for homosexuals to vacation. Gruesome. Gruesome to even think about it. Zionist New World Order. Violent world dominance, U.S. white supremacist imperialism controlled by Israel and international Jewish criminals, paid for by the American taxpayer. Again, just go look up Zionism and images, and you too will find all these pictures, and you will see that a lot of Jews that I keep saying are fighting this, trying to warn us. These people ought to know, do you think? I'm Christian. These people are Jewish. They ought to know. Look at that. It says no Zionist flag there. These people know the inside scoop. And again, they're in high places all over our country. Probably going to the Bohemian Grove and throwing a baby into the fire under a gigantic owl Moloch, and dressing in long robes naked and having gay men shipped in, and belonging to high-level Masonic lodges, bringing in a goat, getting naked and having sex with the goats, as I've seen in some Masonic videos, and some more other decadent activities. But this guy here says, all these people, leader of Clear Channel, Sony Pictures, Warner Brothers, Pres Fox, Chair Disney, CEO GE, NBC, Shamrock Disney, Viacom, CBS, all these people, part of the Zionist supporters, Jewish people. Tex Mars sent me a newsletter once claiming that most corporations, the CEOs were Jewish. I scratched my head and I said, I can't believe that. I got a binder, started doing my research. I've showed it to you in previous videos. I couldn't find anything but Jewish CEOs of these large corporations. You can't get an American Christian to do Luciferic at work. Deceiving, lying, cheating, poisoning the people, killing the people, robbing the people, murdering the people. And the Christian Zionists are many of our leaders running these big mega churches on TV and everywhere else. If you do some homework, and we'll go over some of that. They are big time into the supporters of Israel, and they're deceiving the rest of us as to the true nature of Christianity. They're traitors to Christianity and to the United States government, nation. They're not patriotic. They're selling us out, planning our demise or enslavement, in my opinion, from my research in these books. Alright, Zionist magazine. Obama's speech. Christian preachers are paid off. Push Zionist agenda. Hillary says wipe out Gaza now, kill all the Palestinians. Some of these pictures, when I started making them, I didn't crop them correctly, as you can see. But this is what's happening. The Zionist Nazis and the Nazi Zionists, as we have learned and we'll learn some more, the Nazis were assisting the Zionists to get the Jews to flee Germany and go back to Israel, where they wanted to create this country and population for world domination. Egypt 1776, Egypt 1994, Egypt 2002, issued by the Egyptian Weekly. So I guess you got Zionism in Egypt. No Zionism. It's also the occultic Star of David. King Solomon had a magic ring that he could call forth demons with that symbol. That was the source of his power. Obama is a Zionist supporter. They try to portray him as not, but everything he does, don't listen to what he says, look at what he does. And during his presidency, I think more countries in the Middle East have been destroyed, more people murdered and run out of town, and expanded all the way to Russia's doorfront with the Ukraine. Just anybody doing any simple homework will find out all this is true. The world leaders, the people who are Herschel, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Marx, Lenin, Stalin, all into this communist program, which is a creation of the Zionists. It's a tool. You need a hammer to build a house? The Zionists need communism to take over the world. They need an interface, a middleman, something that can take the blame, take the hit, not them. That's their modus operandi, modus of operation, deception. The Zionist idea, a historical analysis and reader. So Zion, there's a Mount Zion in Israel area. So if you rule the world from that area, it's Mount Zion, and there's a Zionist to rule the world from Israel. They want revenge on the world for 2,000 years of us believing in Jesus and trying to be decent, moral people as Jesus asked us to be, and promised us if we believed in him, we would be saved. And they're into witchcraft and the occultic, worshiping the demonic beast. So yeah, they would be afraid of Jesus and us believing in God, which protects us and gives us great strength. And if we try to teach some of their people that Jesus is the Savior, and a Jewish person at that, they would call you a soul snatcher. Told you that was a word I learned. I'm learning new words all the time. The Zionists, AIPAC, the Political Action Committee, they've taken over our country. They own the corporations, control of small governments. They can destroy anybody. But put your faith in Jesus and God, and you've got yourself a good defense. If you know anything about their witchcraft, occultism. Zionist Christians, Palestinian Christians. So the Palestinian Christians are burying their dead, and the Zionist Christians are supporting Israel. Isn't that an oxymoron or something? Colonize, terrorize, nationalize, militarize, radicalize, Jewish menorah, and all those things. Israel doesn't need your sympathy. Israel needs you and your money. And turn you into a zombie and not paying attention to what they're really doing. I've shown you these pictures before. Once upon a time in Rafah, my father told me, you Arabs are evil terrorist animals. And the other boy says, my father told me nothing. He was murdered by your father. And here's an Israeli, these are just interesting pictures that were on that Israeli Zionist image website. Israel wants peace. Rest in peace, Palestinians. And they sacrifice children, these occultists and witchcraft and Satanist Illuminati. Really? Do some research and look it up. During the holidays like Halloween and other ones, lots of children come up missing. They have ceremonies where they have to sacrifice living people to death. I wish I was making it up. They're into witchcraft, the occult, Illuminati. And again, more Jews here trying to warn the rest of us. I stand with these guys. So you can call me whatever you want to call me. It's peaceful dismantling of the Zionist state. We could end all this. All those people fleeing, going to Europe, coming to USA, destroying the country, and these few people own all the corporations, water supplies they're trying to get, and Israel's become the largest weapons manufacturer of the world. Man, if we took Israel out peacefully, say, hey, this has all been a big mistake, go back to your countries and give the land back to the Arabs, maybe we could save the world. Protocols of Zion. The Jews who wrote the protocols: Rothschilds, Herzl, and Ginsburg. Don't we have a Ginsburg Supreme Court Justice? I wonder if she's related. This is the Zionist thing. They want to control the world. And God forbid you tell them about Jesus and they can be saved. They'll call you a soul snatcher. Hey, I have to have a little sense of humor. This is not a fun topic. Hawking for war. They're deceiving us every day with all this news and stuff. And many people know it, but they just won't speak up. The Zionists have no right to rule any part of the Holy Land. Zionists stole the Holy Land from the Palestinians. These are Jews, probably Shepherdetic Jews, the real bloodline. Zionism causes global anti-Semitism. So people wake up to all this anarchy and chaos caused by these people, like the USS Liberty or 911. So people get upset and say, this isn't right, and they'll call you an anti-Semitic. So what are you supposed to do? Stick your head in the hole and be stupid and blind? Because if you wake up and try to tell the truth, you're going to be an anti-Semite. Stop the Holocaust in Gaza. They're killing the people left and right, of course. Zionism and Judaism are diametrically opposed. So they censor us. They try to shut us up. They intimidate us. They try to scare people. Radicalize. Militarize. Nationalize. Terrorize and colonize. It's the plan of these Zionists. And they're in cahoots, with no mistake about it, with the high-level Freemasonic and other lodges, Club of Knights of Columbus, Knights of Malta, the Kings and Queens, the United Nations, the Vatican, Jesuit. I've been watching a video and collecting a few books on Jesuits. Nasty stuff. Goes all the way back to the history of the Zionists and Jewish people who would control the situation and create wars and finance kings and all that. So I thought I would just do a little more here on this book. Billy Graham, Zionist shill. That's what it says. Billy Graham's unbiblical teaching is that if you are a Jew, you're already part of the body of Christ. even if you reject Jesus. Excuse me? You're a part of the body of Christ even if you reject Jesus. That's one of those things. They have a religion. The Bible has a different Bible for the Jews and a different Bible for us. And they want to get rid of our Bible and turn us all into Jewish supporters. And I guess getting on our knees and thanking them for ruling over us and enslaving us. Because they're so great and we're so bad. Not. Alright, Eric Jewell reports that Graham is a supporter of the National Council of Churches and the World Council of Churches, where a belief in Jesus Christ is non-essential. I like how they twist things around. Where a belief in Jesus Christ is non-essential. So they're saying, thank them very much, that you don't have to believe in Jesus Christ. There's no heaven, there's no hell, there's no God, you don't have a soul, is what they would like you to think. And we're going to supply you with drugs and food and all kinds of decadent sex and a large party. That's called beguilement. A lie, deception. Because once they gain control, they'll take all that away. All the fools who thought they were going to be having this continued drunken party, sex, adultery, homosexuality, pansexualism, have sex with anything, transgender, switch over to be a female if you're a male or a male if you're a female, under the government health care programs. No problem, no worries. What's your fantasy? Is anybody believing this or buying this? It's beguilement. Rabbi Mark Tumenbaum was a leading sponsor of the Lucas Trust, formerly, and I mentioned this before, the Lucifer Publishing Company. Lucifer the light bearer is their God, make no mistakes. They think the Christian God is a Dane, and they say that he's evil. So preaching love is evil, but dominating in the world and stealing, robbing, murdering, and perverted sex and pedophilia is good. They say in the end times, up will be down and down will be up. It looks like they're correct. But people buy this craziness. Lucas Trust was founded for the purpose of establishing a one-world religion. Lucas Trust is a dangerous New Age cult that has at its core the worship of Lucifer. And so many people are into the New Age. I wonder if they ever look in the front of the book, the second page, and says who the publisher was. Do they not know who Lucifer is? The Lucas Trust runs the Temple of Understanding, which is the only religious chapel at the United Nations headquarters, as I said before, the meditation room. Lucas Trust, Lucifer, United Nations, promoting Agenda 21, promoting the new global warming effort, supported by the Pope, speaking before our government officials in the United Nations this week, saying that it's an emergency, we need to act now. It's all deception. It's martial law. It's changing all the way that we live and getting rid of all the Christian material that offends the Jewish people who want to rule over you and enslave you, as we read in the Jewish Utopia or the Protocols of Zion or many other books. And the Masonic lodges that all are of Jewish origin, it says right in there, they're all behind King Solomon's temple, rebuilding it. And according to the Jews themselves, they are the creators of all these Masonic lodges to infiltrate our societies worldwide. They admit it. They brag about it. There's one Jewish, Sarah Silverstein, I keep saying. She's on stage. And she says, yeah, we killed Jesus, and if he comes back, I'm going to kill him again. She says it right on stage. I'm gonna pray for her soul. Oh my God. The Lucas Trust runs the Temple of Understanding, which is the only religious chapel in the United Nations headquartered in New York City. So, formerly called Lucifer Trust, it has the only church in the United Nations. A little translation there for you. The Lucas Trust was originally founded as the Lucifer Trust in London in 1923, but the name was changed to Lucas Trust. Lucas means light also. Light bearer. to make the nature of the organization less conspicuous. Billy Graham knows the spiritual depravity and nefarious ambitions of the Zionists with whom he has conspired. Billy Graham knows the spiritual depravity and nefarious ambitions of the Zionists with whom he has conspired. So this Luciferic religion is depravity and nefarious ambitions. In 1972, he was recorded talking to President Richard Nixon during what Graham thought was a private conversation where Graham referred to the Jewish stranglehold on the media. This stranglehold has got to be broken, or this country's going down the drain. The St. Petersburg Times reports of the conversation. Got mosquitoes biting me, making me want to scratch my hand here. Nixon then broaches a subject about which we can't talk about publicly, namely Jewish influence in Hollywood and the media. He cites Paul Keyes, a political conservative, who is executive producer of the NBC hit Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, as telling him that 11 of the 12 writers are Jewish. That's right, Graham says, prompting Nixon to claim that Life magazine, Newsweek, and New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, and others are totally dominated by the Jews. And remember, they hate us, and they want to destroy Christianity. They control all the media. And most of the citizens out there are mindless drones, zombies, who won't see it coming when the bad times happen. Becoming a nation of renters. Who owns the properties? Who do you think? These Zionist Jewish trust and organizations like that? Of course. They don't want anybody to have any personal wealth. Never mind talk about Jesus or get saved, or try to save any of their people, and then you'll be accused of a soul snatcher. Am I wearing this out? He calls network TV anchors Howard K. Smith, David Brinkley, and Walter Cronkite frontmen who may not be of that persuasion, but said their writers are 90% Jewish. So these people may not be Jewish, but all their writers are Jewish. So that's all I'm going to do on this video. Thank you for watching my video. Rick Miracle reporting.